Meanwhile, in the Middle East, the U.S. and Iran trying to maintain diplomacy in the wake of this week's between two sides. But as a new Israeli intel report reveals another plot to assassinate President Trump.
Maddie Rivera joins us live from Washington with the latest. Maddie.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. So this does underscore the ongoing friction between the two countries. The Wall Street Journal had first reported on the plot, saying Israel shared new intelligence with the U.S. that it said indicated a fresh Iranian plan to kill President Trump, a finding that would mark an escalation in the war between Washington and Iran. Iran for years has vowed openly to retaliate against Trump for the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. So remember, this intelligence reportedly came from Israel. And remember, President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are split on how to proceed with the conflict, with Netanyahu pushing for more military pressure on Tehran. The two leaders spoke on Thursday. This report comes as people gathering for Ayatollah Khamenei's burial ceremony in Iran Thursday promised revenge against President Trump. One banner read, "We will kill Trump." President Trump on Wednesday acknowledged he knows he's a top target for Iran, prompting security questions when he flew from Turkey to the UK on the old Air Force One.
The life of a president is very dangerous. It's 5.2%. You know what a race car driver is? 1/10 of 1%. It's a very dangerous profession. No, I'm number one on the kill list for Iran.
Yet a U.S. official says they remain committed to finding a resolution even after President Trump declared the ceasefire was over as the U.S. and Iran exchange attacks this week. General Keith Kellogg says the U.S. should stand firm.
You take that 14-point MOU and you throw it away. And you start to make the Iranians understand that we are not equals in this fight at all. There's three demands we have. One is we're going to send the IAEA to get the enriched uranium and the centrifuges. Number two, we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And if you attack it, we'll attack back. The third, you're going to lay off your neighbors. You're going to stop shooting at Kuwait. You're going to stop shooting at the Emirates.
The U.S. is continuing to help ships transit through the Strait of Hormuz, but traffic is still slow, guys. Colleen Todd, back to you.
Okay, Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. Let's bring in former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. So we heard President Trump allude to this Iranian plot to kill him when he was in Turkey this week. That threat, of course, is ever present for a president, especially President Trump. Notable that Israel alerted the United States to this. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Carly, I mean, it's notable, and it just reminds us that the Israelis have Iran wired. But it's also nothing we don't know. I mean, President Trump has had more plots against him than any American president in our history, and that's both from radical leftists domestically, and it's also from overseas threats. And principally, it's because the president has littered the Middle East with terrorists and terrorist enablers that he has eliminated, with names like Soleimani and Khamenei and Ahmadinejad and al-Baghdadi. The president transformed the Middle East by taking out the worst of the worst. And one of the things that's always been incredible to me, going back to his first term, Carly, is the president just takes it in stride because he's done the right thing for the American people. He knows there are risks, and he just keeps plunging ahead.
Well, talking about taking it in stride, here is President Trump in Turkey talking about that very thing. Watch this.
I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number one. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it.
Okay, so the White House is now saying that technical talks with Iran will continue despite this back and forth this week. However, earlier in the week, the president said that if anything happens militarily, it will happen very quickly. So what's the next move?
Well, the president wants to, as we've seen, he wants to get to a point where there's an equilibrium in the Middle East where we can move to these negotiations on the nuclear side. We can get the material, the nuclear material, out of Iran. We can restabilize the Middle East and give a real path for future prosperity and peace. But at the same time, Carly, he has shown that he is willing to act decisively if we have to remind the Iranians, and particularly the most radical factions within the regime, regime that there are costs for their behavior. And the president's going to continue, I think, to act decisively. And as he said, very quickly, when the Iranians need to be reminded that there are real, tangible costs for behaving in a way that obstructs this peace process.
And, you know, on that front, Alex, the president's tone certainly changed when he was in Turkey, where he had previously said that this round of leaders in Iran is more reasonable. Now he's calling them scum and sick people. Do you think it's off the table for the United States to strike inside Iran like we did in February that killed the supreme leader? Is that off the table, or could that be something that is still a consideration for the Trump administration?
Well, Carly, one of the great things about President Trump is nothing's ever off the table, and leaders like those in Iran know nothing's ever off the table. So they're going to bed with one eye open every night because they know that President Trump could decide that, look, we're not seeing the behavior from them that we need to see, and he'll keep every option open if that's what it takes to keep the American people safe. And I think that's one of his great strategic advantages.
20 warships and 2 carrier strike groups in the region are certainly a reminder of that for the Iranians as well. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Carly.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.